When it comes to frugal habits, there are just some that don't get the credit that they deserve. Hi, I'm Larry from Under the Median, where every week we bring you videos on practical frugality. Right now, I'm filling in for Hope, who will be back to this channel as soon as she is able. She is doing better, I'll have to say that. It's been 2 weeks since her accident where she broke her, it was this arm. She broke her left arm. And so she's not able to come down and do the videos right now, so I'm filling in for her. One of the things that I'm going to talk about tonight are some areas that I personally help out with the budget. Now, I'm not the budget guru like Hope is. Hope is the one that comes up with the plan. She comes up with all of the money amounts that go into each category. She figures them. She figures out pretty much what can go into each category and how much it takes to run our household. Hope does the lion's share of the work. What I do is come in as a supporter. I come in a supporting role to fill in some blanks that I can do that I'm a little bit better at just because I have the time and energy to do it while she's handling all the other things. There are 5 areas that I'm going to address tonight that I try to help support the budget and make it work good. And in your marriage or in your relationships with close people that you have in your household, you can do the same thing. Find out what the areas of your strengths are and put that into helping out the main person who's handling the budget, in case that's not you. One of the things that's very important is knowing when to replace an item instead of continuing to keep it and repair it. This is something that I'm a little bit better at because I do a lot of research online. I look at items, I look and see what the value is for that item. How much is it going to cost to maintain it in the condition that it's in at its age? What is typical for this item at its age, and how much would I project it to cost in the next 2 years or so? If it turns out that it's going to cost more to maintain an item than the value of the item, then that's certainly a clear-cut time to replace it. With an automobile, I usually wait until it gets a certain age and it's starting to fail in many different areas before I'll replace it. If I'm getting like 3 or 4 repairs like every month, we know that it's having some great difficulties, and we certainly don't want to keep it much longer than that. Before I get to the point where I'm going to absolutely decide to replace something like a car, though, I'm going to start doing research as early as I can to determine what is the best car to replace the one that we currently have, what are the best models, what's the best make. There are so many good cars out there, frankly. I know everybody has preferences on what they like. I personally like 2 brands of cars the very best because I think they have the best record of reliability, and that is the Toyota or a Honda. Both of those cars have a very good reliability rate, and I definitely would feel good about buying those cars. We have one of each. We have a Toyota and a Honda, and they're turning out to be excellent vehicles that I'm going to keep many, many years. And we've already had them for several years. The Toyota is a 2014 model Prius, and the Honda is a 2015 model, and it is a Honda Fit. Both of them are really good in terms of getting good gas mileage. So gas mileage was important to me for the cost of operation. So that was one of the first things that I looked at. I looked at the size of our family. How big is our family? Well, right now we have 4 of us. So 4 of us fit into either one of those cars. Now, when we had 6 of us, I had to go with a van, or in this case, a car that would seat 6 would be a Crown Vic or the Mercury Grand Marquis. So I actually had one of each of those at one time, and we had to do what worked. At that time, I couldn't afford spending the extra money that it would have cost to have gotten a Honda or a Toyota of each of those models. So I did what I could. A second item that I like to really work hard at is determine how much an item, an electrical appliance, for instance, is using in order to operate it. We want to get the most efficient things to use in our home. Now, let me give you an example of a couple things that we own that one gets a little better on terms of how much energy it uses than the other. And they both do basically the same thing. We have actually three different kinds of vacuum cleaners. We have a Kirby self-propelled vacuum cleaner, we have a shop vac, and we have a little small vacuum cleaner. It's almost a portable one. It's a little yellow cleaner. It's real lightweight, and it only uses about 100 watts when it's running. And if I want to run that vacuum cleaner, that is the cheapest one to run because the shop vac uses about 500 watts. And I think the Kirby runs closer to 600 or 700 watts when it's running. It's got a pretty good sized motor. It does a great job. As long as I'm vacuuming an area that isn't terribly dirty, I'll use the lightest, smallest vacuum cleaner because it uses the least amount of energy. So it's going to cost me the least to use. So there's one example of something that I do to save us a little bit of money in operation costs. Of course, I'm sure most of you by now have replaced all of your incandescent light bulbs, and you now have the LED light bulbs. There was the compact fluorescent light bulbs, which used a lot less energy than the tungsten light bulbs. And we went at one time and replaced all of those with compact fluorescent lights. Then I found out that the LED lights are a little bit more reliable and they use slightly less power. So I was able to get those on sale, and we've replaced all of those throughout the home with, now we have the LED lights. So we know that while we're using lighting, we're not using a lot of electricity in order to run those lights. So those are just two examples of things that we do with electrical appliances in order to use the least amount of power behind what we're plugging in. Comparison shopping is the third thing that I like to do to help Hope out. Now, I don't do this in terms of groceries. Hope is the king of finding the best deals on grocery shopping. She's real good with clothing too. She can really do good at finding the best clothing sales. Most of our clothes come from used stores, not from brand new ones. But when I do comparison shopping, I'll do it for appliances that I purchase. Sometimes it's just something for my hobby. I remember I wanted a digital camera and I didn't have one yet. And I did a lot of looking online to determine what kind of a camera did I want. Well, I wanted one with a really nice deep zoom lens. So I could use one camera and I could take close-ups and I could bring things from a distance in close to the camera, because those were important features that I was looking for. The other thing that I was looking for is something small, simple to use, and lightweight. And I found at that time a Canon camera that fit all of the requirements that I was looking for. The other thing that it used was AA batteries, and I could use AA rechargeable batteries in this camera, keep a separate set with me, so if I ran out of battery power, I had a second set, and I could always keep those recharged, and it wouldn't cost me a lot of extra money to put alkaline batteries into that camera. So by doing a lot of research, I found a camera that I really enjoyed, and I used it over several years. And I used that 2005 camera all the way up until last year, when I finally replaced it with a little better Canon camera. And it wasn't a real new one. This is a camera that's about 10 years old. It has a little better zoom lens. It doesn't use the AA rechargeable batteries. It has its own built-in battery. But what I found with the second camera was that battery actually holds up better. So I have two of those batteries, and I keep a spare with me if I'm going on a long shoot with the camera. So there's just an example in cameras of how I did a lot of research. I went online, I went to CNET, and I looked at a lot of articles that they had on different cameras to see which ones did they recommend, and that's when I picked that particular Canon. That little bit of research really paid off. I'd love to hear your comments on what kinds of things that you do. What do you do to save money in certain areas of your budget that you're really good at? And if you like what you've been seeing in this video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you're not a subscriber to Under the Median, so that you'll get this type of content coming to you on a regular basis. Another item that I'm looking into right now in terms of comparison shopping, since I hurt myself on my bike, and I know I can ride an electric bike because I've ridden an electric bike since my accident, but I want to get a trike. I'm really interested in getting a trike, something to run for a little bit out on the road that I can use, that I can really enjoy while I'm healing up a little bit more from the accident. And there's a lot of different features on e-trikes that I'm looking at and comparing across the board of different brands. I'm comparing about 4 major brands of e-trikes to determine what do they come with, what are the price, what components work the best in them, what do people recommend. And by watching a lot of YouTube videos, I found out that one of the features that is really good in an e-trike is have the motor in the back, so the motor powers the rear wheels. And the rear wheels are set in such a way that when it goes around a corner, the inside wheel slows down and the outside wheel speeds up for that corner. And it distributes the power evenly over that so that you don't lose any power. If it has power on the front wheel, which a lot of the older e-trikes are set up for, a lot of times when you get on a hill, let's say you have some gravel on a hill, it's going to lose traction. And that is just simply not good. So that's one feature I'm looking for in an e-bike, is one with a rear wheel drive. The other thing that I found that was good to look at, looking at different articles on e-trikes, is what kind of brakes do they have. And I found that those that had hydraulic brakes are better. Hydraulic brakes work a little bit more efficiently. You don't have to squeeze the levers as hard, and they'll stop an e-trike a little bit better than just the mechanical disc brakes that they typically come with. So those are just a few things that I'm looking for. So a lot of different things to look at. You go across the board and you'll look at them and say, well, this bike is the cheapest one and it has this feature and that feature, but not the third and fourth feature I'm looking at. So you keep looking until you find one that fits most everything that you're looking for. I haven't found one yet that has just everything that I would like, but I try to find one that has the most of what I'm looking for, and then I'll probably end up landing on one. We are going to do a review on an e-trike in a few months, so I'll just say that. We're going to do a review on one. We're not sure what we're getting yet because the company wants to send us their very newest one that they haven't even put out yet on the market, so I don't know what the features are on that particular bike, so that'll be really fun to do. The fourth item that I look into in order to help with the budget and save a little money is to research all the variables of a particular budget category. For instance, maximizing my mileage when I'm driving is kind of my thing. I really enjoy driving from point A to point B in the most efficient way possible, the best way to drive that the car's designed for in order to get the maximum amount of mileage out of that vehicle. Of course, the first thing that I do is buy some vehicles that get good mileage, as I've already mentioned. The Honda Fit gets the best mileage of any Honda, and the Toyota Prius is one of the better mileage cars in the Toyota line. So I've already got an up on it right there. Now I'm going to take it and practice all the different patterns of driving in order to maximize the mileage between point A and point B. What I do is I zero out the trip counter so that I know how many miles I'm getting on every trip, so I can compare my trip the first day to the trip the second day, same trip, same location, same place that I'm going to. I want to see every day how good I'm doing. So it's almost like a computer game where I try to get the highest score and beat the day before's score. There's a lot of different things that you can do in order to get the best mileage. One of those happens to be how quickly you take off from a stoplight, how much time you allow in order to slow down to a stoplight. Let's say a light that's 2 blocks ahead of you, it's already turned red. Rather than racing up to that light and then stopping when you get to it, it's better if you slow down 2 blocks back and let your car slow down a little bit, save that gas while you're going up to it, and you'll get better mileage. Lots of different things you can do in order to save money in this area, and this is something that I think is kind of fun to do. By knowing and understanding all the variables in handling something, you can find ways to be very efficient in the use of any item that you have, no matter what it is. One of the things that I take into consideration, if I'm trying to save money in doing something, I want to make sure that it's really beneficial. If I'm putting a lot of time and effort into saving money, but I'm not really saving an awful lot of money, it may not be worth my time and effort that I'm putting into it. So I want to make sure that I'm getting the most out of what I'm doing for the amount of effort and time that go into it. The fifth thing that I like to do in order to help with the budget is I want to make sure that I'm supporting Hope and going with her and cooperating with what she wants to do in order to save money and not work against her. If we're working together on the same goal, then we're definitely going to get there, and we'll get there a lot better if two are really working at it at the same rate. So I find that to be a very important thing to do. I mentioned a little bit earlier about saving money on driving your car. Lots of different ways to save money and get better gas mileage. We did a video a while back, 50 ways to save money on gas at the pump, and that video is right over there.